Welcome to the Alison Lumbatis Show, a podcast to help women discover and rediscover their confidence and style. I'm Alison Lumbatis, and I am thrilled to have you here. On today's episode, I'm taking you behind the scenes into the deeper why behind the Alison Lumbatis Show. We'll get into how the idea of sharing style stories was born, what does a style story even mean, and why do they matter? If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, please take a moment to do it now. I've got an incredible lineup of episodes for you in the coming weeks, and I don't want you to miss a thing. Now let's get to the show. All right, real talk. I have been tossing around the idea of doing a podcast for a few years now. I've been a guest on many shows, and it's always such a fun experience to connect with a new audience. And as a podcast listener, I love the opportunity to learn new things and to discover new voices. But I always knew that there were two things that would need to align before I was personally willing to take the leap of starting my own show. First off, whatever the topic or format was, it needed to excite me. Over the last couple of years, for a multitude of reasons, I have gotten really intentional about how I spend my time. I needed to feel confident that I would be excited to show up and do this work every single week. It's still the early days, but so far so good on that point. And secondly, I wanted to connect on a deeper level with the existing Outfit Formulas Closet Crew community, as well as reach those who are not familiar with my style philosophy and use this platform to encourage more women to discover their style and their confidence. Lucky for me, the stars aligned just a few months ago. I finally had the realization that I was ready to take the leap. And how this all happened is I was being interviewed by my friend Laura Tremaine on her podcast for an episode about building your best wardrobe. And I'll link to that episode of her podcast, 10 Things to Tell You, in the show notes at alisonlumbatis.com/podcast. But as we started chatting, our conversation took a little bit of a tangent when Laura heard me say that I never felt stylish growing up. She unexpectedly asked me to expand on that statement, and our conversation led me to share the events and circumstances of my childhood and my family life that had shaped my own style story. We ended up actually continuing this conversation off mic after the show, and we both realized how the things that we were taught or told or had modeled for us in our younger years can continue to have a significant impact on the beliefs we have about style as adults, and in turn, how confident we feel today. It's the kind of thing that unless you take the time to intentionally step back and reflect on, you may struggle to connect the dots. I knew at that moment that we had tapped into something really special. These were exactly the type of deeper conversations that I wanted to be having about style. Sure, talking about trends or what to wear to a special event can be fun, but I've always felt far more interested in the psychology of style more than the clothes themselves. Our childhood years, particularly our teen years, are when we start shaping our own identity, including our style and confidence. And our ability to explore this is impacted significantly by our environment. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, esteem, which includes factors like confidence, belonging, and self-esteem, is an acquired emotion near the top of the hierarchy. If your basic needs like food, shelter, safety, and family support were not being met as a child or teen, it's unlikely that you had the opportunity to explore your personal style. Your brain was too busy focusing on your basic needs to survive. Additionally, the role models that we had in our lives have a significant impact on what we believe to be true about ourselves. And if your mother was always on a diet or fretting about her size, those actions conveyed a message to you about body image, even if no words were said specifically to you or about your own body. If your father was annoyed by how much it cost every time you needed new clothes or a haircut, your brain had to figure out what to do with the emotions that his attitude stirred in you, even if it was just stuffing them into a mental box tucked away in the back of your mind. There are so many ways our style stories are shaped, whether it was from the models we saw in the magazines we read growing up, the kind aunt who showed us how to put on makeup, the older sibling who let us borrow clothes for a special occasion, or the schoolyard bully who made fun of our shoes. The fact that we remember those mean comments all these years later, it's pretty telling, isn't it? But even that can be explained by psychology. Our brains have a cognitive bias called the negativity bias or negativity effect that causes us to internalize negative experiences more deeply than positive ones. We can hear a dozen positive comments about the beautiful Christmas dinner meal we made for the family, but it's that one little comment you overheard about the turkey being a little bit dry. That's the one that sticks with you. It erases every single compliment that came before it. The negativity bias trait is instinctual for us. Thousands of years ago, we had to remember that eating the berries from that part of the field made us dizzy and upset our stomach. And remembering all the places, animals, and foods that were not safe were imperative to our survival. Nowadays, we are just stuck with that uncle who is never happy with the turkey, no matter who makes it. And our brains, unfortunately, don't know any better than to just ignore him. The examples I've mentioned today are just scratching the surface of what a style story can be all about. And I can't wait for you to tune into upcoming episodes of the show. I'll be speaking to women about their wardrobe struggles and helping them dive deep into their own style stories. I would love to hear your thoughts about style stories. Have you ever considered why you feel the way you do when it comes to getting dressed or about your confidence? Did a tidbit from today's episode resonate with you? Did you learn something new? Let's open a dialogue and connect. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube as Alison Lumbatis, and I'd love to hear from you. If you share your own thoughts about the experiences that shaped your style story on social media, please tag me. I'd love to see it and cheer you on. Remember, you are worthy. Style is a skill anyone can learn, and closet contentment is possible. I believe in you. Thanks for tuning in.